I do want to make sure I do have them all.
All right. Okay.
I got them all on my desk there.
All right.
All three of them.
So now I'm not trying to one up yet.
Very nice.
Go ahead, get it, Mr. Moglia.
Hold on. It's not as cool as Joe's ring.
Oh my goodness.
In 2017, I was fortunate to receive the Vince Lombardi Award and was inducted to the Vince Lombardi Hall of Fame. I don't know if you can read that, but so go get Joe. Okay.
That's one right there. And we'll end it on that one right there.
You're both celebrating your Jubilees here, 25th and 50th anniversaries. I know it's been odd doing this virtually, but I appreciate your time. And, you know, this aspect to be more athletics driven, whether it be our student athletes or athletic alumni or folks. So, you know, I heard you talk a little bit about your families and your background. I know it's been well documented, whether it be Coach Moglia, obviously, you know, working here at 19, being a Fordham prep kid here on our Roosevelt campus, and then Fordham University, Italian immigrants, the fruit store, Fort Tryon Park, Mount Carmel, Joe Moorhead, obviously Pittsburgh, your family, the steel mill, you know, obviously just incredible, you know, two strong upbringings that kind of brought you both here to Rose Hill. And whether it's Fordham Athletics, whether it's football program, whether it's Fordham prep, whether it's your families, how has Rose Hill shaped each of your approaches, whether it be either coaching style or leadership style? And I've done a lot of research on both of you, and I listened a lot to both of you in terms of your approach, and both of you are known as such tremendous leaders. And I'm just curious, how would you say Rose Hill and Fordham has shaped your approach and your leadership style for coaching? And I know, Coach Moglia, you've been going first here. Coach Moorhead, if you don't mind going.
I got it. Yes, sir. I was starting to get a little. My time at Fordham as a student athlete and as a coach, you know, ironically, it's on opposite ends of the spectrum. That there's an old saying. You can't get caught, as Coach Moglia mentioned, John Wooden. You can't get caught up in either praise or criticism. And I think my 2 stints at Fordham has taught me how to deal with 2 things: how to deal with adversity and how to deal with success. And how you shouldn't change through the course of either. As you know, Martin, you know, the true measure of man is not determined in times of comfort and convenience, but in times of challenge and controversy. And in my time at Fordham as a player, we weren't very good until my last year. I think we won maybe 4 games my first 3 years, and then Coach Q came in from Kansas State, and we went 4-6-1 my senior year, and we're on the cusp of being a pretty good ball club. And you know, it's not easy to go through those things. You know what I mean? And I think, you know, particularly playing the position of quarterback, when, you know, a lot of the either praise or onus is put on that position. So I think going through those 4 years and having to fight and having to battle and having to stick to it and work through a coaching change, and then seeing some light at the end of the tunnel with a relatively successful year. And then on the flip side of that, you know, coming in and you know, taking over a team that had dealt with a bunch of adversity, and then being able to steadily climb, you know, to heights, you know, because of you know, all the things we were able to accomplish as a program that Fordham had not reached at the 1AA level, and then not changing through the course of either of those. I think that's the 2 biggest lessons that I've learned, you know, my time here as a player and as a coach.
Appreciate that, Coach Moglia.
I think Joe's perspective in terms of a student athlete on campus and a coach on campus, it's not the same thing. But I was a student athlete at Fordham Prep, and then a coach at Fordham Prep, and the whole time being at Fordham University as a student and on campus the entire time. And I think you go back, it's not, you know what, the world changes. You know, you have programs. I mean, Joe did an incredible job at Fordham as a coach. He's done an incredible job pre and post that. But what you realize over time is that, you know, there's a cycle in life, and that cycle in life has an impact in terms of what you're doing from a career perspective, from a business perspective, from an educational perspective, from a military perspective, from a political perspective. And I think what you learn by understanding that and trying to adjust that later on. Again, Joe gets it as a student athlete, and then as a coach. All of a sudden, bang, things wake up. That happened to me as a father and a student of Fordham and a student at prep and a coach at the prep, and then moving on in my career, but still as a kid, very, very, very early on. And I think what that taught me is there's 2 things. One is you have to have I don't care what the profession, absolutely coaching, but period. I don't care what the profession is. If you're going to be great at what you do, and that means you maximize your potential. Maximize your potential means you could go 5 and 6. Maximize your potential means somebody could go 9 and 2, but they should have been better than that. So I literally maximize the potential. Excuse me. You got to be able to adapt and adjust. Period. You got to adapt and adjust. And with that, handle yourself well under pressure. They're the things that I think I would have learned from my experience on Rose Hill, over the span of 8 years as a student, as a coach, as an alum later on, et cetera. That's what I would say.
I love that. I love that, those comments. I love that advice. I love those words of wisdom from both of you. Coach Moorhead, you talk about overcoming adversity and challenging and difficult times of teams and struggle. Coach Moglia, you talk about adapting and being able to adapt and overcome. This has been 1 year of that, right? Whether it be challenges of this pandemic. And I spoke to both of you multiple times throughout this year. Are we playing football? Are we not playing football? Is campus going to open up? Are we going to postpone the seasons? COVID, not. And you two are wonderful examples of programs that completely overcame, adapted, and handled adversity, which is no surprise based on both of your upbringings and what both of you represent coming out of Fordham and being Fordham men. Coast Carolina, tremendous year, magical year where the whole nation got behind your program. Oregon, Pac-12 champions, tremendous adversity, overcoming what came out there. If the two of you could talk a little bit about some of the learnings you had even this year in terms of on the job, interacting with students, interacting with young men and developing young men and your leadership skills. Talk a little bit about maybe some of the findings, silver linings you take away from this pandemic and some of the thoughts of what you've found from the overcoming the challenges of this pandemic this year. Coach Moorhead, if you would go first.
Sure. I think the biggest takeaway for me is that much like becoming a head coach for the first time, when you're dealing with an unprecedented event, there's no manual for it. And I think it provided a great dose of perspective for myself personally and for our program as well, as along with college football, that, we were consumed with, getting on the field and playing games, allowing the kids to compete. And, you look on, the TV and the case counts rising and hospitalizations rising and people are passing away at a historic rate. So to the juxtaposition of those two things, wanting to have a season, wanting to play, wanting to do something that's so important to so many people, but at the same time, knowing that there are greater things going on in the world than the game of football. But those two things can happen simultaneously, that it's not mutually exclusive. You can have concern for what's happening with people and what's going on in the world and showing empathy and caring and doing things the right way. But at the same time, you could still, push to do what we did. And I think that was the biggest takeaway, that the game of football and what it has taught from a work ethic, a discipline, a camaraderie, and a resiliency standpoint, all those lessons that we've learned throughout our lives as a players and a coach, you're taught to, bow your back and bowl your neck when the times are the hardest, that our kids, this season, through the daily testing, the contact tracing, not knowing who's going to be able to play on a daily basis, and then, finishing that off with a championship and a spot in the Fiesta Bowl, all these rings on my desk here. I told the kids they all tell a story, and the story of this one, right, will tell a story that hasn't been told before and won't be told afterwards. And to me, that's pretty damn special.
I think there's an advantage for me going second because I think there's a lot of wisdom in terms of what Joe said. So I really respect everything that he had said, and I would reinforce that. So if I were going to add anything to that, I want to support what he says. But I would, if I'm going to add anything separately from that, if you are involved with college life, and clearly we're all involved with that, then your focus has to be on your students / your student athlete, depending on what your position is on campus. Not everybody's a coach on campus, so it's either student athlete. But that's it. There's nobody else on campus that you got to really. There are clients, there are customers. You got to take care of them. You got to do a great job with them. So when things like this happen, Fordham does a much better job of this than most universities, but every university says, oh, we want to lay a foundation upon which you're going to build the rest of your life. Well, they say that, but that's bullshit. Most of them don't even come close to it. Fordham does. So with regard to that, and this would be true of a student, but let's focus on student athlete for a moment because that's kind of, let's focus on student athlete for a moment. All right, so they got to adapt. They got to work hard. They got so many things that are going on, adapt and adjust, et cetera. Now, so we have a global pandemic. As Joe said, well, there's no playbook. But what happens when something's never happened before? There's no precedent. So lives are being lost around the world. We are in crisis mode globally and in this country to find the right vaccine and then figure out the logistics of being able to distribute it. Excuse me. Finding the right vaccine takes 5 years. We did it in about 9 months, but we had every pharmaceutical company in the country, a biotech company in the country, and the world working together to do this. So they weren't doing a pretty good job of that, beginning to figure that out. We're still not over with this yet. While numbers are great in the United States, they are not good. They are horrible in India. They are horrible in Japan, not the great other places. Now, are we going to assume nobody from India leaves the country to come here? Nobody from Japan leaves the country to come here? Well, that could create another problem for us. So the problem is there. So I know our players, whether it's at Oregon, Fordham, Coastal Carolina, oh my God, we may not play the season. You know, oh my God, we're going to play, we're going to have this, what's going to happen? And they start to feel sorry for themselves a little bit. They start to feel sad. And that's when I think a guy like Joe has got to be in front of them, or leaders got to be in front of them and say, do you recognize your place going on in the entire world now? All right, so let's keep it simple. We've got a pandemic virus, there's a global issue that clearly there's no precedent, so you haven't thought about it. Let me give you a precedent you should have thought about. We've got tens and tens of thousands of troops in the Middle East, same age as our football players, that are putting their lives on the line every day. Every day, their lives on the line. Why? So we can live in freedom. Now, with those freedoms comes responsibilities. Then you go back to that leadership principle. Bam, take responsibility for yourself. But one of those freedoms is you've got the right to play college football. You're here playing college football, and you're complaining because it's hot in double sessions, which there are no more, by the way, which in the middle of August, because it's 95 degrees and you wearing equipment. And these guys are in a desert at 115 degrees with 50 pounds of equipment for 12 hours a day, and their lives are on the line. So at some point, appreciate what's going on in your life relative to major problems in the world. Appreciate who you are, appreciate where you are, appreciate the university, appreciate your family, appreciate what you have. But step it up. Don't feel sorry for yourself. You are fortunate. And that's what I think is important to get across. And I think that's part of what's been done at the university level and other spots in our country over the span of the pandemic.
Powerful words. Adapt, adjust, appreciate. For me, even in terms of being athletic director for 600 student athletes, whether it was last spring through the summer, even through the fall for a majority of our sports where we didn't have competition, the silver lining I talk about was the ability to focus more on some of those student development pieces, right? Whether that be, you talked about it earlier, both of you, whether it be political unrest, social unrest, mental health. We talked a lot about, obviously, skill building, the idea of career services, right? Like you all talk about life after football, like, right? LAF, like, give me some of your thoughts and advice of what you would give. We can stay with student athletes today, but general students that are graduating this month as well as we celebrate the Jubilee, of course, of both of you. We also, it's commencement time, hard to believe in a pandemic year, but we have some, obviously, many students going out into that workforce, starting a new life, leaving college, leaving campus. What would be your advice to them in our world today as they enter, and maybe some of the advice you take away from your Rose Hill graduations, your Rose Hill commencements that you would like to convey to those graduating seniors? Coach Moorhead.
You want to go, Coach?
No, I've learned a lot from you, and you go first.
Oh, okay. All right.
I've already done this. I've already done that. No,
okay. No, I think, looking back on you go back to, the spring of '96 and, I'm graduating and, I always thought that I was going to play quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. and that was my goal. And I, was it realistic? I had a cup of coffee in the Arena League and got cut and, had an English degree and went and wrote for a couple newspapers. And, I honestly wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, but I knew what I was passionate about. And, it was just real serendipitous how I got into coaching. I mean, I went to the library when they still had the Dewey Decimal System. I found a book that had the names and the addresses of every 1A and 1AA school, and I sent out 250 form letters and got 250 rejections and did it again, and was getting ready for church one day, and out of the blue, the University of Pittsburgh called. They were creating a graduate assistant position, and Walt Harris hired me, and I'll say the rest is history. But I guess not to get the advice I would give is identify what you're passionate about and chase it relentlessly, and that may change. And the goalpost moves. The bullseye may not be 6 months after graduation. It may not be a year after graduation. But identify what you're passionate about and chase it relentlessly, because we're only given one, and it's very short. And it's we're not blessed with enough time on this earth to live in misery and regret. So find out what you're passionate about and chase it relentlessly. That would be my advice.
So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead, Coach.
All right. So I want to take exactly what Coach said, and I want to take it a little step further, but build on that. So again, I had to figure out what my career plan was going to be early on. I wanted to go to Wall Street. Again, nobody but my family was in Wall Street. We just kind of enjoyed the business piece, majored in economics. So, by the way, my freshman year for them, I majored in English. Then I switched to economics my sophomore year. So I have a lot of respect for that. And so I was thinking about I got responsibilities. I've got to figure this out. I got to get it right. And I sent out 200 letters to see if anybody was interested. I had a high school job, and I got all rejections. I got one, and that's where I went to. That's how I continued my coaching career. But so what I believe in is that, number one, if you're going to be really happy as a human being, you got to feel good about who you are. You got to feel productive. You got to feel good about who you are. Otherwise, I don't care what else you got going on. If you feel good about yourself, it's not going to work. So to be passionate and enjoying what you're doing means you're in a career that you enjoy the challenges. You kind of go after it, you handle it, you attack it. If you don't have that, you got a job. No matter what that job is, a job versus a career, two very different things. Career should be very exciting. Job is a drag. All right. So how do you get that job? How do you get that job? So there's a concept that I call spiritual soundness. And that is, so it begins with really knowing who you are as an individual. Now, there's a whole process you go through to be able to figure that out. Let's assume that that's taking place. So let's make believe I really know myself as a human being. And I think of the different things I might want to do with my life. So one of these happens to be, it doesn't matter what it is, be coaching, be an engineer, it could be a doctor, it could be a lawyer, it could be working on a fruit store, whatever it is. So then you got to do some homework. Too often people are telling us, well, this is this, this is that, this is this, or we do things that our parents would want us to do, or we do things because that's what we've been doing, and that's all we know. So what are the different things I might want to do the rest of my life? And what are the skill sets required to be successful in those endeavors? Now, who are you going to work for? What are the skill sets required to be successful in what you think you would enjoy doing? Line them up. So right here, I know the skill sets required to be successful in a particular field. Well, I know me, so I know my skill sets. Do those skill sets match up? No matter how passionate I'd be, no matter how much I'd love to be, no matter how much I'd say I love to be a rock star. That's what I want to be. I was willing to get a tattoo in my back. I was willing to have really big dangly earrings. Anything I'd do to be a rock star, I would have done. But guess what? I didn't have the skill sets, didn't have any of those things, but I had the passion for that. But I didn't have the skill sets. If you don't have the skill sets, drop it. Don't go down that path. Move on. But when you find you do have the skill sets and something you think you enjoy doing, then you go back to what Joe said, and you are passionate about it, you got it. You got it licked. You will have a competitive advantage over 90% of the people in that field because you have both the skill. You know who you are. You align that with what you need to be successful in terms of skill sets in that field, and you are something you're really passionate about. You got both of those. That's a pretty good combo to move forward on.
You two are the absolute perfect examples in my mind of following passion, following heart, having self-confidence and believing yourself that you could achieve anything. You really are the two examples of what success looks like. And I'm happy that we're able to have you here today to be examples for not only our alumni, but for our student athletes as well. You know, the one guy I wish was here with us right now would be real perfect is Coach Lombardi. Coach Vince Lombardi would be the perfect Fordham triangle here with two of you. So I thank you so much, both for your time. I know you both have other meetings. So I want to be sensitive of time. I want to give you an opportunity though for any closing remarks you'd like to say, whether it be to your family, your classmates, or Fordham University overall, as we celebrate obviously each of your Jubilees. I just give you each an opportunity to do a closing remark. Coach Moorhead, if you go first.
Yeah, I mean, you know, say what more can you say? But you know, as you kind of get up to year 25 and year 50, and you're able to, you know, look in the rearview mirror and kind of take stock in all the things you've been fortunate to experience throughout your life, and why has that occurred? You know, you go back to certain landmarks, and you know, I go back to, you know, first and foremost, my mother, my father, my brother, my sister, and in the way that they you know, taught me the lessons that you learn in the sport of football, and that you're taught at Fordham. And you know, the education, the trials and tribulations, the positive things that occurred at Fordham. You know, just a collection of experiences from you know, my parents, my brother and sister, my wife, my children, you know, my friends at Fordham, my teachers, my coaches. You put all those things together, and you know, I think a great illustration of the man to my left here, who's reached the pinnacle of success in two different fields. You know, of what it means to be a man. You hear the term, he's a man of Fordham. He's a Fordham man, and you know, I hope that as I sit here and we talk, that all of the things that go into becoming a man of Fordham from your experience there, and then what you're able to do with that once you walk out of the gates are something that you know, all my alumni, all my teammates, you know, and all the Fordham community, I wish they could be proud.
Appreciate that, Coach Moglia.
So as a member of that group, I thank you for that, Joe. So first of all, I hope that how you handle this, Ed, I hope there are members of our campus and a university where alums and students appreciate it. My granddaughter literally is starting graduate school this fall, you know, Fordham, and I couldn't be proud of that. But I go back. It's hard for me to say anything more than what Joe said. So go back to what you said. You know, like who's missing in this group of the three of us is Vince Lombardi. So this may or not be, you know, a great thing to share with the Fordham world. But my suggestion is you get Coach Lombardi back here, and like you really grill him, and you let him talk to everybody else, and like no one will even know the two Joes were there. So that would be a good thing. The fact that he's been dead for 25 years, don't worry about that. You know, folks, you could get him back somehow. That would be pretty good. I think at the end of the day, though, I would just say, number one, I'm honored to be asked to do this. I've always had incredible respect for Joe. I'm honored to be asked to do this with him. And everything he said, I reinforced. I'm just proud to be part of Fordham. Truly proud to be part of Fordham.
Gentlemen, I can't thank you enough for your time, for your willingness to do this, for your love and passion of Fordham, for your willingness to reflect. It means everything to our university. It means everything to our athletics department. I know it means everything to our student athletes. So you are tremendous role models, mentors, and examples for all of our kids. I thank you so very much, and what you've done, what you do, and what you continue to represent. And I appreciate every minute of your time. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ed. Hey,
Appreciate
Joe,
it. Thanks for having us on.
good to spend time with you.
Good to see you, Coach. Really appreciate it.
I look forward to seeing you gentlemen in person soon.
Thanks, guys.
I will see you guys. Have a great one.
Hey, go Rams.
Yeah, absolutely. Go Rams.
Hell,
Go Rams.